She was 16 years old. She was a normal student. She competed with her classmates for the top scores. She loved going to school. I even think she liked Justin Bieber. I'm not sure about that. But one day, that all changed for her. She is Malala Yousufzai. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of her. What was unique about Malala is that from the age of 11 years old, she worked for girls' education. She was determined, and for herself and for other girls in Pakistan to have the chance to go to school. She wanted to be a politician one day, and she imagined the future of Pakistan being better than what it was as she was growing up. On October 9, 2012, Malala was shot in the head by the Taliban. The man came and said, "Who is Malala?" And she said, "I am Malala." And he shot her point blank. Why did he shoot her? What crime did she commit? Simply her desire and her imagination for a better future and for girls to have the chance to go to school. Malala imagined better. She imagined, and she had that spark of possibility for the future. And she continues to, even after that really scary experience for her. She continues to imagine a better future for now girls all over the world. Like Malala, millions of girls in Afghanistan have that same dream for education. They also imagine that their country will be better in the future. And they're acting on that imagination by attending school in the thousands, in the millions now. And, school enrollment actually increased in Afghanistan from 0 girls in 2001 to 3 million today. There's 8 million students in school today in Afghanistan. And this imagination that I've seen in these girls has inspired me to do something to further that dream that they have. Personally, I connect with their story. I grew up in a home where education wasn't allowed. Due to my mother's mental illness, we moved 26 times by the time I was 14 years old. At one point, we lived in a Winnebago camper through the winter in Ohio. One time we lived, I say we had 26 moves, 11 states, and 30 snakes, because we lived in this one home where there was a rattlesnake in the kitchen and it rattled at us. We lived in hunting cabins. We had many adventures. But for me, I had this dream of education. My grandfather was an anesthesiologist, and I saw how he was able to help people with his education. And I imagined that someday I would be able to do the same, but I didn't know how it would be possible. It seemed highly unlikely. But my sister and I got our brains going, and we said, how are we going to do this? We borrowed our mom's address book when she was away one day, and we wrote to 90 of her friends, and we said, please, would you support us? We want to go to school. This was grade 9. And so they started sending money in, and because we knew that we wouldn't be allowed to go to school, we ran away from home. And our dad secretly signed the papers for us to attend high school. I graduated from high school. That was a big moment in my life. Actually, I got to go to college, and I graduated from college. And I just finished my master's in public health. My dream has been realized from my own education. And as I was finishing up my undergraduate degree, I started to think about the girls in Afghanistan. I learned about them. And I connected with their story because of my own desire that I had had to go to school. And I thought maybe somehow I could be part of making their dream a reality now that mine was coming true. So I got together with a group of students and at Canadian University College in Alberta, and we started scheming, and I approached a better world, and Eric was gracious enough to put up with my crazy idea. My idea was, I want to build 100 classrooms in Afghanistan. I want girls to have the chance to go to school, and I think that this is an achievable goal. I want to tell you today that if you have a dream, if you think about a possibility in the future, you have to allow yourself to imagine it. You have to be open, even if it sounds almost impossible or highly unlikely. You have to be able to let that spark of imagination to burn. I really like Emily Dickinson's quote about this. The possible slow fuse is lit by the imagination. For me, when that fuse was lit, I was ready to go. And so I went to Afghanistan. And I saw the normal things that you would expect to see in Afghanistan. Tanks, bombed out buildings. I saw the impacts of war for 30 years. This is actually a schoolyard filled with tanks. I saw children who had stepped on landmines and whose lives had been changed forever. I saw classrooms. Actually, this building used to be a military base. The ceiling is riddled with bullet holes. But now, today, students are studying in this school, over 2,000 of them. I saw children sitting outside, learning under the trees. The playground is the tank at these schools, and the tents are the classrooms. And all of us, I think, would be afraid to use this bathroom. Many of the parents don't send their daughters to school because the bathroom facilities and the school facilities are so bad that they choose not to send their daughters to school. Thousands of students are in school today, and they actually have to study in 3 shifts in many schools, or 2 shifts, because there's just too many students for the infrastructure that exists in Afghanistan. They use old buildings. And what I came to a conclusion of in my first trip to Afghanistan, as a just graduated undergraduate, fresh out of college, I had come to Afghanistan with this optimism that I could do something, and it was going to be big. And when I saw all of the need and the fact that there had been this war and the thousands of students, and I thought about my own dream, which was 100 classrooms, it was almost overwhelming. And at one point, I was even thinking of not going forward with this dream that I had. And one day, as we were driving into Kabul, I was reflecting on this and just feeling this sense of being overwhelmed and uncertain. And I opened my eyes as we were driving into the city. It had been raining, and there was a rainbow. And that was meaningful to me because, for me, a rainbow is a symbol of hope. And that rainbow could not appear unless the sun was coming through and that the storm was ending. And I thought for me, it was a powerful moment because I thought of the girls in Afghanistan and that this could be a turning point for them. And with the Taliban out of Afghanistan, this was the time to act. This was the time to start to turn that imagination into reality. And I could be part of that excitement. And so I committed to it. I said, I'm going to do this. I have no idea how. And I was terrified to speak in public. So can you imagine trying to raise money? You have to do that, right? I was actually going to run across Canada because of my fear of speaking to people. But we went forward, we moved forward, and I realized from experience that it's possible, that this dream is possible. I've been to Afghanistan now 6 times. I lived there for a few months, and I've really felt even more optimistic about the future. And one powerful moment for me was when we were able to lay the first stones for our first school in 2011. This girl in the picture, Sabaira, she wants to be a doctor someday, and she had the honor of laying the first stones. You can see her there. And then she spoke at our grand opening event, and she was so proud that she got to have her own new school. We saw transformation from tent schools to this new building. We've built 4 schools like this today, where these students are studying in much better conditions. And parents are coming forward and putting in the garden. They donate the land. The community comes forward and contributes different things as they can. And the Ministry of Education provides the teachers and the curriculum. So it's quite a good arrangement. We're able to move forward. We have not faced any opposition from the communities for helping girls go to school. It has only been positive. We are asked to go to the communities. They really want their school to be the next one that gets built. And it's really great to see the students in the classrooms learning. More and more girls are coming to school, and what we find is as we build the schools, the next thing we know, when we visit again the next year, there's tents again in the schoolyard because more students have come. The parents come out and support at the grand opening events. They're very proud as well, and we've had a lot of support. So to date, it is possible. I know it because I've seen it. And to date, we've built 32 classrooms with this 100 classroom project. We've raised $650,000. And this year, I'm excited to say that we will be reaching our halfway point. We have the money in place, and we plan to start rolling out 2 girls' schools in the next few months, and also a renovation. So we'll be actually at 60 classrooms by the end of 2014. And today, 8,000 students are benefiting from this project. Many people are very pessimistic about Afghanistan. I hear a lot of cynicism. People say, aren't your schools going to be blown up? After the U.S. troops leave, what's going to happen in Afghanistan? Is it really worth it? And this poster was actually created by the UK government in 1939, shortly before World War II, to boost the morale of the people. And it never got published. But many of you probably recognize it because it's become a commercial symbol. But I think this is very fitting for Afghanistan. The people are carrying on in Afghanistan, and we also have to keep calm and carry on. The most powerful example of that that's very current is the April 5th election. They had their presidential election on April 5th, and this will be the first time that they ever transfer power democratically from one leader to another, ever, in Afghan history. And millions of people came out to vote, and they weren't just voting for a candidate. These people who came out at risk because the Taliban had specifically threatened and said, if you come out to vote, we will attack. We will make this a very difficult day for you. But the people didn't care. And they came out, and this is actually women who had just voted. They have ink on their finger. And they're voting not just for a candidate, but they're voting against the Taliban, and they're voting for a better future for themselves and their children. When I see the children walking to school, I'm inspired, and I remember my own journey, and I remember how challenging it was at times. But there was people along the way who helped out as well. And I'm thankful to them. And I also feel that I can be part of that for these girls. I can help them out and bring them further along their journey towards their dream for themselves and for Afghanistan. You see, the first time when we had our grand opening event, a little girl came up to me with this picture of a dove carrying a pen. And it's a symbol, of course, of peace through education. And when this little girl gave it to me, I thought about how young children are able to see possibilities. And of course, that's captured in this quote. So many things are possible as long as you don't know they are impossible. And as we see millions of children going to school, I don't want to be the one that tells them it's not possible. I want to be with them, and I want to make it possible for them. Thank you very much.